All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom. I'm with George, but he's on a extremely important call right now. He'll be joining us in the next 1 or 2 minutes.
Oh, I was playing Fortnite and got
Or
killed.
sooner.
I got killed by 5.
Unbelievable.
Woo, what a day. By the way, Tom,
Yes.
you never really talked about the down days in investing. When you lose, like, people's paycheck for the year in a day.
Well, nobody should be investing their annual salary at that level. But some days are better than others. That is an absolute fact.
Well, can you tell me when
Hey,
the good
Jerry.
days are coming?
The good days are. I can tell you the good days are coming. I just can't tell you when. I can tell you this: they're overdue.
They're overdue?
They're overdue. So, today was classic. Effectively, it's Friday. I mean, I know it's Thursday, but in the U.S., the market is closed tomorrow. So,
Happy Easter, everyone.
Yes, happy Easter. The market behaved very much like it was a Friday here in the United States. Bitcoin behaved like it was a Friday. And my portfolio behaved like it was a Friday. So I hope you...
Tom and I were talking during lunch, and what was it, 2 weeks ago? You were back above $10,000 just for, like, you should have took a picture of it.
I know.
And then you're down $3,000 just like that. Boom.
That's the thing. But the key is, and I'm going to show a little more in depth this weekend, I haven't sold any stocks. So for as long as you believe you have the right stocks, it's almost like this is the most painful part. But if you are dollar cost averaging in, when you look back on everything, you're going to go, wow, that month or 3 months or 6 months where I had pain and suffering.
6 years.
Well,
Sorry.
if it's 6 years, then you picked the wrong stocks. But I still have a high level of confidence in my stocks in the 10K challenge and in the miners I'm invested in particular. So yeah, they're taking a long time, and there's a lot of outside forces working against us, but the market forces will prevail ultimately, I believe.
So, okay, let's just get right into it. Ethereum.
Oh.
It's so common. He's like, well, I never knew it was good. We never thought it was going to happen anyways.
So for those of you familiar with the channel, you know we've been saying for a long time on this channel we're skeptical, and I'm not saying it's going to happen or not going to happen. I just remain skeptical about the switch from proof of work to proof of stake, and we've been doubting this June date, and sure enough, it has been delayed with no date. So,
We sat there at a table at the conference last week, and there was like 6 or 7 people, and they're like firing at. We're like dodging bullets. We said, nope, it ain't happening, guys. I don't care. It ain't happening. And they're like, but. I'm like, you can butt all you want, but it ain't happening. And why do you think that is? What is the fundamental reason why? I got my theory, by the way.
what do I think the fundamental reason why it's not?
Uh-huh.
I think the fundamental reason why it has not convert. I do not think it's a technical reason. I don't think they're having a
Nope.
programming problem.
I don't agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that there's money. I think money is the reason. There's massive money at stake. This shifts the entire way Ethereum, people will make money on Ethereum. And so I think that's a huge factor. And I think there's regulatory factors that they need to worry about. What do you think, George?
I think that it loses half of its value almost immediately when they switch.
You think it's going to plummet if they...
Yep.
fully switch.
Then I don't think their hash rate is nearly what it needs to be for it to work.
Rob's saying Q3 2023 is my guess. Is that when, Rob, are you saying you think that's when they're going to switch to proof of stake?
Yeah, nothing's happening this year, guys. It's just too many crazy things going on. We're in crazy town right now. And listen, I just survived COVID. So my
Congratulations.
view from what day did we do a stream? Monday or Tuesday? It was Monday, right?
Yeah.
So from Monday until today, I've had COVID. Obviously I still have COVID. So don't get too close to the TV. I don't want anybody getting COVID.
You're fading. You're fading from the screen. We just got your eyes now.
Oh, there we go. Is that better?
COVID was getting you.
COVID got me. Hang on, I don't have that view on. How is that better?
Much better.
Okay, so, COVID still is a real thing. I hate to say that it really is, but it really is. I didn't even think about it from a getting sick point of view. You know what I mean? I didn't think I'd get it. I mean,
well, and we went to the Bitcoin 2022, so
30,000 people.
Yeah, from the every country in the world. So, Seth, you had some distance at the table, so hopefully you're good.
Oh, great, yeah. Well,
and I don't have it yet, so.
Well, I have my theory about where I got it from, but I think it was after I met with you, Seth, by the way. So but here's what was really cool about it. I hate to say this. I'll be one of those people, but I am, I guess. Take everything that everybody said, don't follow that traditionally, and go the alternative route. And, I feel pretty good, honestly. As my armpits sweat right now because I'm hot.
You're using...
No, I didn't use I just used vitamins. I just used, I've been pumping myself full of vitamins. Zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D. I don't know. There's this thing called NAC. I have no idea what any of this stuff is. But I went and got the drip. Oh, he tested when he got back and he was negative. Good.
I don't think.
And I tested. I did the. So as soon as I felt crappy, which was Tuesday, I went and got the drip of all the different drugs you could get. So I didn't wait. I'm not a man. I'm a boy. I'm not gonna try to tough it out. Because here we just had a friend. This is a real true story. We just had a friend of a friend, great shape, in my demographics age, and he died. Got COVID, tried to be the stud, not run to the hospital. And he goes to the urgent care, and they say he says I can't breathe, and they say go home. and he had a heart attack and died, at home, and it's really sad when you hear stuff like that. And so I didn't mess around to try to wait to see what was going on. So anyways, with all that being said, this is part of the reason why I say it's a funky year still.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. There's a lot going on this year. And with, to close the loop on Ethereum, I don't know if it's ever going to proof of stake. And we've had some people talk to us and say, some of you guys out there have said maybe a hybrid. Both. Maybe there'll be a long period of time where they're integrating the proof of stake in with the proof of work, and they're both happening, simultaneously for some time. So,
Seth, how old is he? And is he on a ventilator, or is he? What are they doing in a traditional way, or? I mean, I don't want to get into the aspects of anything with COVID. Probably shouldn't even say. Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. Only thing I can say is, when Tom got really, really sick. I mean, super sick. Yeah. And it's you got to trust the doctors that they're telling you and doing the right stuff,
I ended up in the hospital for a week, and you don't have a lot of choices. You do what the doctor says, and you do your best, and that all worked out for me just fine. So that was great. But I know some people, went the other way, and that's tragic.
But I'll get off this topic. Seth, we'll be praying for your dad, buddy. So Gus, this was my statement. You think BTC will trade sideways until the Fed rakes are done? My answer is yes. Here's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the break. We call it the breakout. And unfortunately, Bitcoin has been staying steady, Tom, with NASDAQ, correct?
It's still trading with the NASDAQ by and large. There's a heavy correlation there. And here's my feeling. There are several catalysts that are going to, in my opinion, push this. It's already pushed past the tipping point. But there are several catalysts left that are kind of being withheld. And when one or more of those happens, I believe we will have a breakout. And then, the longer we go sideways, in my opinion, the more violent the breakout is going to be. And we've been going sideways for quite some time now. And some of the things I'm talking about, they have gone out of their way to deny Bitcoin spot ETF. I mean, there's just no sense to it. There's no line of reasoning, and ultimately everybody knows it's going to happen. And I just read an article, I think it was either yesterday or the day before. 75% of money managers say they will move their clients into cryptocurrency once there's an ETF.
Did you say 75%?
75%. And I'm going to add to that. The other 25% are also going to do it. They just don't know it yet. Because there's no way everybody's moving in and you're going to be the guy sitting on the sidelines. So that's number one. That is a monumental catalyst. Seth saying the Ripple lawsuit gets settled. That's another catalyst that's out there. And I keep hearing that there's good news on that front, but how much good news can there be? I mean, it's either got to be done or it's not done. So,
you want to hear something interesting before we go on that, Ripple? Did you know that they added the Ripple to the lawsuit? They were suing XRP, and they said, "Okay, we want you to add Ripple."
I feel because like they gotta sue Ripple.
Well, they were suing XRP. They weren't suing Ripple. So they actually brought Ripple in so that it would cover all their coins that they make. Does that make sense? Don't yawn. Yeah. What am I boring you?
No, I didn't. Drinking my coffee. No, I assumed. You know what? I always assumed that Ripple was in the lawsuit to begin with.
No, they weren't. It was XRP, and they said, "Okay, well, we're going to add Ripple." And the interesting thing was that
Logan.
No one does that. No one brings a company in so that all of those coins will be covered. So the interesting thing now with the Ripple lawsuit, which I'm a XRP guys, Bitcoin and Ethereum might have to go through the same journey. Don't be in shock if that happens. Doesn't change my long-term strategy, but why not? This administration is not fond of crypto.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I know that you have some sources that say that's on the horizon. I think Ethereum
they fly in little spaceships, just so you know. They're Martians.
George sees them. I haven't seen them yet, but he swears they're there. So, I don't know. I think Ethereum is more open to that potential than Bitcoin, in my opinion. Hey, Mike. Welcome.
Do you think that BlackRock controlling the U.S. stablecoin is going to really... It's only $50 billion. That's like nothing to them. Is that going to do anything to the crypto world?
Well, BlackRock is another catalyst. So it's funny that, I was talking about there's several catalysts out there. So Fink wrote a big giant letter about ESG, and basically, he's got $11 trillion under management, and there's some astronomical 18 or 20 trillion dollars basically sitting on the sidelines from cryptocurrency, from the Bitcoin miners, all as a function of this, proof of ESG. And by ESG, they really mean E. So, as you guys know, I mean, when you look into it, there's a lot of these Bitcoin miners that are very, very green. Some of them have a lot longer way to go than others, but as a market segment, it's probably one of the leaders in using green energy. So but for as long as that, you've got Kevin O'Leary on a world tour telling people that the miners are dirty. I mean, that's his word. They're dirty miners. They're dirty, and you cannot invest in them. They will not pass a carbon audit. That's his major talking point. They won't pass a carbon audit. Now, I don't know what kind of carbon audit he thinks they're going to get, and I don't know who he thinks is a 100% carbon free, because that's just not how any of this works.
Whoa. Let's stop for a second. Who's doing the audit?
He wants accredited carbon auditors to
right.
audit the carbon credits. And
right. And that's not anything to do with the United States, I don't believe.
No. And also the thing is, most of these guys don't need a lot of carbon credits. They're taking the last tiny piece of their puzzle. CleanSpark's more than 95% green. So if they use carbon credits to offset the last 5%, throw them out and say they're all not valid. They're still 95% green.
That's crazy. And I think they've done a hell of a job making them green. I mean, to listen to that guy, Stronghold, where's your 65 million? But anyways, Stronghold is a great example of how they're trying to do something to help the world. I mean, they're taking real dollars, and corporate America could have done this a long time ago instead of having him come in and do it. Something in Pennsylvania, don't ask me what it is. Hang on, I don't want to miss this, what Gus said about mining. Look at my level or Tom's level that we're talking about mining, and it's nothing. It doesn't work. It does not work. The machines do not pay for themselves with the cost of energy as of right now because of the hashing in March of 24. It doesn't work.
One of the big ways that it works is if you can do it to scale, and you can make your own energy deal, but you need to bring 10,000 computers to the table.
I don't have that kind of money.
And that's $100 million. So when you can do that and strike your own longer term energy deals, because they're paying a half or a third or a quarter of what we pay residentially and what most commercial places pay. But it's mostly not a big expense for those companies. But obviously for Bitcoin mining company, it is the expense.
But if anybody is interested in mining, I mean, if long term it works obviously, but short term it doesn't. So but if it goes to the 500 or 100 or a million, then yeah, it works. But it just seems like it's so much work. You can just buy the coin and wait.
So Seth, in my opinion, sorry, I'm just reading what Seth said. Nuclear is, that's a whole nother debate. I think nuclear is green energy. And it's definitely carbon free. So
it is carbon free.
Mike says the world is being run by criminals. I can neither confirm nor deny that statement.
No, but you do the opposite of what's going on, because they're building their positions out in these Bitcoin mines. We know it. We watched it happen. It happened last year.
Logan, hey Logan. Logan saying Kevin O'Leary is predictable, and later goes on to say sketchy, and just trying to build the ESG narrative to. Yeah, that's right. That's right. What you're saying is what's happening. Kevin O'Leary's got something in the pipeline, and he's going to come out with what he calls a clean version of mining. And so he's spending, he's on a 1-year tour trying to tell everybody. And remember, the year before that, he was on a tour, touting the Bitcoin miners. He had some personal friends at some of these Bitcoin mining companies, and I know some of them
has some explaining to do. He has some explaining to do.
That's absolutely right.
And then the other thing was about mining was maybe ETH will work. I don't know. I think that I'm gonna still be. Listen, guys. Remember, I've always said that the crypto market's getting down to less than $1 trillion, and that's what I'm gonna buy in. I've said that now for I don't know,
George believes there's a major correction ahead.
major. And when that happens, that's when I'm going nuts. I smell, guys. It's bad when you can. I have a hypersensitivity to smell.
And I have almost no sense of smell. Ironic.
So, moving forward, are you nervous? Are you doubling down, Tom? What are you thinking with these miners?
I'm dollar cost averaging in, and I'll tell you, I on Monday and Tuesday, you know, these days here where we were bouncing off of this line of support, I was averaging in big time. We rallied big yesterday, and then we basically gave it all back today. So I did not buy in today, only because we're sitting right here at the exact same spot that we were when I dollar cost averaged in, you know, on Monday and Tuesday. So I'm not going to re-average in at the exact same price that I just did a few days ago. But yeah, at the beginning of this week, I added substantially to a lot of my positions. So, and I will continue to do so, right? This line seems to be holding for now. We're bounced off it again, but if we go down here, I'll buy some more. Because again, the long-term story hasn't changed. We were talking about all the different catalysts, you know, regulations. I know somebody mentioned that in the chat earlier. Regulations is another huge cloud hanging over the head of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Once these regulations are in place, and they'll, you know, we know it's going to be 6 months because the executive order didn't even ask for, you know, answers until about a 6-month period of time. So that looms out there. So that's another catalyst. Once they're in place, regardless of what they are, cryptocurrency will, in my opinion, take off once there's the uncertainty is taken out of the equation from a regulatory standpoint in the United States.
What with the, you know, everyone's talking about the Great Reset for the economy and stuff like that, Tom. What do you think that means to the stock market? Or is that just the financial aspect of how we move money around?
I mean, it depends what segment of the stock market you're in, and there's all kinds of different scenarios on what this who's doing the reset, what the reset's going to look like, if there's going to be a reset at all. My perspective is this: the Bitcoin miners, I view, you know, they are obviously a marketable security, so they're a part of the stock market, but really they're a part of the crypto world. So they get, you know, right now Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners are all being treated like high tech, but that's not what it is. So I think ultimately when those separate, which they will.
No, sorry, I'm just reading. Somebody put a comment up and I looked at the price of what's going on with Twitter. Sorry.
Oh. What's going on with Twitter?
It just took off. After hours. People are so stupid. It's 46.21 after hours. Oh, what's your perspective, Tom? Somebody just asked that. Sorry, I forgot who it was.
On
Twitter.
Oh.
Twitter. With Elon Musk. Billion-dollar man.
I put out a Twitter video today. I don't know what the reason is, but that's the second one that I did, and for some reason those are the two lowest watched videos of all time for me. So I'll just tell you guys what I said. I think that was not a real offer, in my opinion. That was an ultimatum sent publicly via the SEC filing to let them know that either they accept his unreasonably low offer or he's selling all his stock. So he's either going to sell his stock and make a bunch of money or use this as a negotiation chip towards some other end. But he made it clear in his letter that this company is broken and it cannot be fixed as a publicly traded company. It has to be taken private. So that really takes off the table him continuing to increase his investment in the company because it's a public company. So in his own words, it would be throwing good money after bad. So he's either got to buy the whole company and take it private or dump his shares.
So it 50-50? Where are you?
No, I don't think it's 50-50. I think that the offer was ridiculous. And
I think he knows. I think he could already be out, by the way.
he could be.
Yeah. I mean, do you have to do like a time offering? You have to say, okay, I give you 7 days to make up your mind if you'll sell me the company at this price? No?
He didn't say that in his letter, so there was no time frame. And, the board is going to take a certain amount of time. The board can't just dismiss it out of hand. They have a fiduciary responsibility to at least pretend that they have looked at this offer and gave it its due consideration. But that's about all they're going to do, in my opinion. I know there's a lot. I'll tell you what, the most shocking thing to me out of all of this is there's a lot of people that think this is a good offer. This is not a good offer, in my opinion. This is not financial advice. This is. I laughed at it when I saw it. I thought, wow, I didn't think anybody would take this seriously. It's a very low offer. And yet I've seen financial analysts talk about, well, the board's got to take this offer. They got to do it. And I will be stunned if they accept this offer. So listen, anything can happen, and I've been stunned before, so it won't be the first time. But that would be if they take this offer, that means they know something we don't know, and things are much worse at Twitter than we think, or than their financial statements are disclosing, in my opinion.
Or the world is much worse than you think.
Well, maybe.
You know what I mean? Two things, Mike. I don't know enough about what's going over in Ukraine. All I do is pray for everybody over there. I see the images. I don't know who's right and I don't know who's wrong. I can't even. I scratch my head every time I try to figure out what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I don't know why we're throwing all that money over there, though. I mean, have you heard, is any other country sending a ton of money like this? Probably not. We don't even have the money to send. That's my problem. Where's this money coming from?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's.
That my whole problem is, I feel bad for Ukraine. And I feel bad for Russia because I can see them feeling like they're being stepped on, but there's no reason for this to go down the way it went down. I'm on the sidelines on the whole thing. I just pray that no one gets hurt and that nobody who just sits there and is just trying to, live life gets killed or, any other things. I mean, we've just seen some horrific images and it's awful. There's nothing good that comes out of war.
This is a sad reminder. This is what war looks like. And I think, it's been a while and a lot of people forget. So it's.
Yeah, where is the peace movement? And the problem is that we got over here in the United States, we're so fractionalized in so many different things. This is just another thing to fractionalize us. And I think that's basically, we have so many issues going on in the United States that no one wants to talk about, and I mean, we're on the I think we're on the verge of a collapse in society overall, in the stock market. I think, something like the Great Depression is not off the table at this point in time, especially with inflation running away the way it has.
Buy Bitcoin.
And then that's the other thing. Why would you go and put gasoline on a fire? Why would you go and keep it I mean, I'm not saying I support either side of that war, but why would you keep it going? Because it's basically the United States keeping it going now. Yeah, this war heavily affects the market.
The war affects the market. The war affects the economy. And here's the thing. Logan asked about the CPI report. And, do you think this was the climax or
Nope.
will we see higher numbers? I think we're here. In my opinion, we are going to see some higher numbers. However, I believe this is all artificial inflation because this is not inflation due to demand. This is inflation due to a massive disruption in how the world works and a broken down supply chain that there's no excuse for. So I think that is going to take a period of time to fix. And for as long as that is broken the way it is, we could see. So, they were saying, for the longest time, they were saying, well, we think inflation is transitory. Well, at this point, it's too late to say it's transitory. It's been around for over a year, and it may be around for another year or two. But I don't think it's transitory. I think it's artificial, because this has nothing to do with demand. And it should, inflation should be a supply-demand thing, but it's a supply thing right now. We have unnatural breaks in the supply of things. I'm old. I've lived more than half a century, and here in the United States, I will tell you, anywhere I've ever been or ever gone, I've never seen an empty shelf until the last few years. Now, everywhere I go, half the shelves are empty. That's like the new way of life. So, it's just that's what's going on right now, and that's what's causing this inflationary pressure. And by the way, it's already starting to break down. Used cars have come way down. New cars, it's starting to get into housing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel that it has to crash in order for it to be, repaired, quote unquote. It has to get to that breaking point. So I think you got at least 3 more months of the CPI number being high before it starts to come back down. At least 3 more months.
Yeah.
And what I mean high, anything over 5% is what I'm saying. And if you believe any of those numbers you're getting, by the way, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
That's right. They're funny numbers to begin with,
yeah.
But I think they're going to keep going up for a little bit. I don't think, it's not spiraling out of control. I don't think the Fed's going to do all the rate hikes that they've talked about, but I think they're right to put that on the table. And, that's one of their biggest tools, not necessarily doing them, but talking about them.
Do you think that's built into the price already? The 0.5%?
0.5% is definitely built into the market right now. So
do you think if they do 0.25, it helps the stock market or hurts the stock market?
I think in the short term, that would be a boom to the market, in those few days. I really think they're going to do the 0.5. They're in so deep. They're so deeply committed to that at this point they start to undermine their own case by doing less. But they might, it's either going to be a quarter or a half, but a half is definitely built in my opinion.
First 911, then COVID-19, now war.
Yeah, it never stops.
It never stops. It really doesn't. That's why we started this channel, by the way. To keep us focused. Let's get back to being focused. Where are the opportunities? Would you stay away from Twitter, or would you?
I'm staying away from Twitter. We're going to see how that plays out. I have very strong feelings that there is almost no chance the board is going to take that offer. They've talked about other people coming in and, being a white knight and taking the stock off of Elon Musk's hands so that the situation doesn't get... I've heard 1,000 different scenarios. None of them make any sense to me. Somebody earlier said, it's not a bad deal because Twitter underperforms. And I know a lot of people don't like Twitter. I am by no means here to defend Twitter. That I'd be the last person to do that. I just look at their financial statements. So whenever I'm talking about anything, it's not because I love the actions or politics of a company or any of that. On this channel, I'm just strictly talking about the financial situation. And the fact is, Twitter, it has 20% compound annual growth rate. They make money, they cash flow. They're going to make more money next year than they made this year, and they're going to make more money the year after that than they made that year. So they're growing, their cash is growing, their profitability is growing. It's less than what people wanted, so that is true. But this is not let's put it this way, there's no cash flow problem. They can stay in business forever. unless obviously somebody their problem would be is if a competitor in the marketplace were to overtake them, and therefore they lose users and revenue.
And sending out things like what was it? Oh, we don't want free speech
Thanks,
on
Mike.
Twitter.
Appreciate
Did you hear
it.
that? We don't want free speech on Twitter.
Yeah, I watched an interview this morning that was disturbing on Yahoo. That's a gigantic issue. It's a huge issue, free speech, and Elon Musk is pretty vocal about it. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know if he's genuinely the defender of free speech or if he's just looking to flip in and out of Twitter stock and make $1 billion in 6 days. So I'm not sure. And with him, I'll tell you why I doubt him. And I'm glad that he's standing up for free speech, and I support that, but most of you here are Bitcoin savvy and you're Bitcoin people. When he came out with the FUD on Bitcoin, after he had spent $2 billion buying Bitcoin, I know that was disingenuous. He did not suddenly learn out of the blue that which we all have known forever, which is that crypto uses a lot of energy. Nobody spends I don't care how much money you have. You don't spend $2 billion on something unless you've researched it at least at the most basic surface level, which is all it would have taken for him to know the energy commentary and controversy surrounding Bitcoin. So to come out months later and go, I'm not going to accept Bitcoin anymore. It turns out that there's an issue here that nobody knew about relating to, green energy, and that was absolute manipulation. So he is known he's on the SEC's watch list, that everything he does is under scrutiny because he likes to push the envelope. That's what he does. And okay, he makes money doing it. And he's probably going to make $1 billion on this Twitter trade. So that's fine. I don't begrudge him that, but I don't necessarily trust what he says. Hey, Eric, welcome.
By the way, did you hear that they're taking Dogecoin and you're being able to use it on the Starlink to buy Bitcoin off the network? It's a big deal.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, that was the new thing, just came out a couple days ago. So Doge on the Skylink, is that what it's called? Skylink or Starlink?
One of those was the end of the world in the Terminator. So
it's Starlink.
I'm not sure which one.
Starlink. Starlink. And so you can buy Bitcoin off network.
Right. Seth is saying, how much money does our current financial system use? Or sorry, not how much money, how much energy? So that our financial system uses more energy than cryptocurrency does, but nobody talks about how much energy any other segment of the market uses. It's just Bitcoin miners.
I wonder how much energy Elon Musk uses to make Tesla cars.
Right. How much money? That's right. What's Tesla's carbon footprint?
And
because the SEC wants to have everybody give their carbon footprint. So,
did you hear that each car, I don't know if it's batteries or if it's the car itself, each electric vehicle uses 180 pounds of copper. 180 pounds of copper. And by the way, one of the things that our administration did after 15 years of trying, they got a copper mine approved in Arizona, and it got approved, stamped, through, pulled the permit. No longer get a copper mine in in Arizona.
When you say they pulled it, you don't mean that they pulled it and they're doing it. You mean the government pulled it on them and stopped them.
Yes, they stopped it. And that alone would have affected the copper market. And right now, can you imagine? You're talking billions and billions of dollars. It just from that one thing. We have to be independent. The country has to be independent.
That's a part of the supply chain issue. in this global economy, a lot of countries are learning that, hey, we've got some gaps in our own supply chain. And if something happens or relations break down with country A or B or C, we're left with a problem. And everybody's dealing with it right now, right? Ukraine is one of the most resource-rich places on Earth. And, now they're in the middle of a crisis. Logan, your thing went off the screen, but I think you were talking about free speech, and you said, sometimes the algorithms are used to divide us. I think that's, if I take Elon Musk at his word, I think that's what he's mad about with Twitter. One of the reasons he did not take his position on the board, there was two main reasons. Number one, they were going to restrict him to under 15% of the company, and that was not his intention. And number two, if he's a board member, he has a fiduciary responsibility not to disclose information. So, as he looks into the algorithm and learns more about the company and those kind of things, effectively, he's got a non-disclosure situation where he can't say anything to anybody about it. And that is not the position that he wanted to be in. So those, if I take him at his word, those were his two major issues with that situation. He does not like the algorithm. There should be, I can't say there should be no algorithm. That's just not how it works. But there's clearly a better way to allow free speech, in my opinion. And some of it, forget the algorithm, some of it is they just strictly ban stuff. They go, oh, you're banned.
Well, I mean, Section 230 has to go. Sorry.
One or the other. You can't have that plus ban people.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I can tell you one thing, that I'm successful, at least, everybody views success through their own paradigm. Yes. I ain't smart, I'm successful. There's two big difference. Tom's smart, I'm successful. Tom's successful too. Just joking. But it's hard. It's really hard. And you have all these government agencies out there that don't want you to be successful. And it's like, what's funny is we talk about how they try to divide us fractionally through different things. It's the exact same thing they do to companies. They try to divide it by, having different things, and it's fractional, so that, you don't make money, and you look at your company and you're like, oh my goodness, how did I stay in business for as long as I did? I was going to close during COVID, but we were able to figure out a way to stay open, and now I'm celebrating 10 years in business, so yay!
Nice.
They're charging us for free. I think energy should be free too, but there was something that Elon Musk said last week too that I thought was amazing, and I agree with, and that was we should not be taking these nuclear power plants offline. The only way EV works is with nuclear power. No one will say that, but I will. EV vehicles do not work without nuclear power.
Well, they run on electricity. It's got to come from somewhere.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's energy, and if you don't get energy, I don't know what you're going to do. I mean, how are we going to go put another 100,000 cars in California? They already have rolling blackouts.
That's right. Well, California in particular, and they're the ones furthest ahead in the EV race, and the E in EV is electric. So they need electric to run their entire infrastructure. So it's got to come from somewhere. We don't want it to come from coal. So people have to be flexible about what the other alternatives are for the period of time where we're transitioning from one source of energy to the next, because these alternative sources of energy just don't provide enough energy yet. And also, even if they did, it's a massive amount of time to build out all that infrastructure. That's what CleanSpark was doing before they got into Bitcoin. So ironically, now they're a Bitcoin company, and a lot of people give them, hassle them because they use energy, but their microgrid section of their business was all about improving efficiency on energy systems. So that was their mission, to try to take us from the old infrastructure to the new infrastructure. But how long did it take to build the old infrastructure? Hundreds of years. So, we're not going to we can't say
do it overnight. Yeah.
Right. It's not an overnight thing. It's going to take time, and we got to be realistic about it. Or if we're not realistic about it, then it's never going to happen.
And I can tell you right now, in 8 years, it ain't happening, guys. I'm a realist. That's the thing. Is a realist doesn't mean I don't care about the environment. I care about the environment, but I know in 8 years it ain't. We're not going to all EVs. I think they said 2035 they're going to outlaw EVs in California. I mean, outlaw gas cars in California in 2035.
This
It's
is
not going to happen.
right. They can say whatever they want, but functionally speaking, it's going to be whatever it is. I mean, and
You guys are crazy, by the way. I'll read this stuff. I mean those pyramids. Mike said those pyramids were generators over in Egypt. I've never heard that one, but I don't know.
all I saw was something about spaceships.
They will destroy
And
culture
dinosaurs.
and traces of ancient civilization in Ukraine, same as Vietnam, Afghanistan, Syria, and all wars. I'm a free thinking. We don't need a government. It's an Egypt coup. Khan. Logan, exactly. Dude, you guys are deep for me. I'm just trying to make some money in the stock market.
We're trying to figure out what to do with Bitcoin.
I know, that's all I care about. And that's the other thing. Let's be honest. I thought the stock market would have already just like completely tanked by now, but it ain't. It's not going to tank before the election. There's no way.
Well, Seth said that earlier
No.
on. This is an election year, so that has an impact on everything. That's just reality. So between now and November, I think everybody's going to try and do what they can to keep somewhat of the status quo.
So okay, Tom, let's play the magic game. If you're going to invest money into a miner, which miner would you choose and why? And I'll get your mine.
So we're starting from scratch. I got money today. Forget what's already invested.
Yep.
You're saying what's the best value out there today? Man, I'll tell you what, the last 2.5 weeks in particular, some people jumped on me because I said, the last couple weeks, the Bitcoin miners, haven't been keeping up with Bitcoin. And I know it's been many months that Bitcoin and the miners have been struggling, but there was a divergence. Over the last 2-3 weeks, the miners lagged even much further behind Bitcoin. So right now, so many of them are on sale, it's insane. So my first knee-jerk reaction is always going to be, Bitfarms is at $3.14. $3.
You've been saying them for a long, long time, Tom.
I'm putting
Look at
my
Hive.
money where my mouth is. I bought more of them on Monday.
Look at Hive and look at Riot.
And
they're insane. Okay, honestly and truly, and this I've been asking these crazy questions. If you had $100,000 right now, would you put it in miners?
Would I?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this is the best time ever. I'd love to start over right now because these are all so over. And I shouldn't say all. I do have mixed feelings about a lot of the newer miners. I think some of those are winners and some of those are not necessarily winners. But I'll tell you, the top of in my list, Bitfarm, CleanSpark, Hut, Hive, Riot, Marathon, Cores. In specific, I separate those. Those are already to scale. They've already, and Marathon would be the one exception where I could say they have had some massive growing pains. They are not where they want to be at all. So, but the three Canadian miners, Bitfarm and CleanSpark, Bitfarm, Hut, Hive, CleanSpark. I mean, to me, those are just undeniably, and Riot has been performing. Their operational updates are superb. Their performance has been clockwork all year 2022. They're putting distance between themselves and Marathon, even though Marathon has many more machines than them. Riot is outperforming them, and the machines they're running are running more efficiently. So, and the only reason I wouldn't pick Hive because they're ridiculously undervalued is I think this Ethereum uncertainty is driving the price of Hive's stock down. So that's why they're even further undervalued. So, and I don't know when that uncertainty is going to end. So if it's a buy and hold for the next 5 years, I have Hive. That is a position I have. But, if I was to invest today, Bitfarms is the one that just baffles me.
Do you think that there's going to be more downward pressure for the next couple of months, or do you think that come the 5th of May that we're just going to kind of be a rocket ship? Where do you think it's going? I know you don't like doing this.
First, I'll say, Mike's saying 100x. Rob's saying I'm focusing on CleanSpark. I am very positive on CleanSpark. I'm very bullish on CleanSpark. And they ran all the way down to $9.61. They've been very volatile, but they ran up. They had almost 150% run up. Now, that still put them at a price that was way less than they should be at. And now they've pulled way back from there. They were at over $13 a few days ago. And now they're at $9.61. So absolutely, that's a position that I'm averaging in on as well. Hut in the $4 range, and Riot, those are all rock solid for me. There are others that I think are winners, but I don't really want to.
Yeah, Riot and Core doesn't make any sense. Marathon kind of does make a little bit of sense.
Marathon, right. At least Marathon is having a lot of operational difficulties and a lot of growing pains.
I'm trying to find their pool right now, by the way.
And they're also, they're closing down they use coal. They're closing that whole thing down, so that's another bump in the road.
Just tell them you're closing it down. Doesn't mean you need to close the damn thing down. Oops, was that my outside voice? Didn't somebody just do that? Somebody just did that.
Mike and Rick are both saying Hive is making money and they're still tanking, and Rick said the ETH narrative is FUD. I agree with all that. It's absolute FUD, but it's suppressing the stock. JM saying no one wins in the energy discussion, just like statistics. It can say what you want it to say.
Wow, somebody said that? That's what Tom says to me all the time.
You took the words right out of my mouth. The thing is, but here's where everybody can agree. Let's be responsible, and for all of the Bitcoin mining companies that have a very clear plan and that are clearly trying to be green and moving towards green. So having a plan, executing a plan. If companies are doing that, that's the expectation that we should have. Not, well, we can't scientifically prove they're perfect and they have zero carbon emissions. Well, no one's ever going to do that for anybody. So let's all agree to just move in the right direction, and it's just another way of FUD. This is another reason Bitcoin is sideways. There's all these reasons that have kept Bitcoin in this $40,000 range.
And it's doing it for a reason, because I'm telling you, they want their people in it. Whoever they are, I have no idea.
Logan saying just don't look at any sketchy. So you guys probably all know that I'm not on board the any train. Any, aka Sphere 3D, aka was going to be Griffin Mining, but they canceled their merger, and New Miner. That's all I have to say.
Right, and not only that, how many machines do they have up and running right now, you think?
I think they said they had 1,000. Maybe they just went up to 2,000. Right, out of what was going to be 60,000, plus another 60,000 new miners, which are supercomputers. You can't see it, but I'm using air quotes.
I'm looking shares of blocks. Hang on, I got it now for Marathon. It's basically the 15th. It's one day earlier to figure out where Marathon's going to be this month.
Logan's saying the market still doesn't understand the miners, and we're early and we will be rewarded. I agree. Every person, not every person, when I talk to friends, family, people on the street, they're still totally baffled as to what is Bitcoin never mind what's a Bitcoin miner. I've explained to my mother 30 times what
Well,
Bitcoin mining is, and she still has absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Sorry, Mom. I know you're not watching.
I have a question. They show this in petahash. What's 470
So
petahash?
that's 0.47 exahash. So that's
Oh
less
my-
than one half. That's less than one half of one.
Are you kidding me?
Michael's saying, which is the best clean energy stock? I mean, if you jump out at me, in my opinion, CleanSpark obviously is very green. Bitfarms uses all hydro. Now they're going to be using some natural gas. Hive, Frank Holmes said himself on this channel that they're 100% green. So that's from the chairman of the board's mouth at Hive. And Hut 8 is very green. They use almost exclusively, they use hydro. So this is what I'm saying. A lot of this sector is already very green.
How many blocks make up a coin, by the way? Block count.
What do you mean?
It says shares of block 376 over 26,583, 1.41% shares of blocks.
That means they're mining about 1.4% of the total amount being mined.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's impressive. So there's just still half of petahash. There's still only. What did they say they were going to be in next year?
Who's this?
Marathon. I'm still stuck on Marathon.
Oh, Marathon said that by the first quarter of 2023, they will be at 23.3 exahash. So they're at 3.9 exahash right now, but it does not appear that way from when you look at the results of their mining pool.
No, yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it says it's 470 petahash right now.
Well, I don't know what. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, because I know they've got almost 40,000 machines plugged in and running. So they're pushing for, but the problem is they're much less efficient. A lot of their machines have a lot more downtime. This is what I'm saying. There's some companies,
they old S9s and stuff like that?
It's not that they're the old machines. They're even the new machines. It's just they have such a problem getting them plugged in, up and running, and maintaining them. This is the growing pains I'm talking about. Whereas Riot is clockwork on that. And, Hive's been doing this for years. We talked to Frank and Iden, and, they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day and discuss every one of their facilities as to what level of production they were running at. And if it's, less than 99 point something, they're pissed. So,
well, and as I read this, let me just give you the things for the coins. On the first, 4. On the second, 2. 1 on the third. This doesn't look right, Tom, but this is what it is. 5 on the fourth.
This is how it works.
1.
This is correct.
1. 3. None on the 7th. This is none. 3 on the 8th. 1 on the 9th. 2, 1, 0, 0. They had a weekend. They just had 2 days zeros and 1 today.
And remember, because their pool is small, this is why they need to get to 23.3 exahash.
This is awful.
Massive unevenness will even itself out. They'll go from one of the smallest pools to, a large-sized pool. And then the math starts to work in your favor. Getting lucky or unlucky is less a part of the equation once you're a large pool. And if they can get 23.3 exahash,
why wouldn't they let other people into their pool?
I think they would. It's just nobody wants in their pool. There is somebody else is in their pool. There's one small other somebody we know. I can't remember who it is.
12, the 5th of last year, December 5th, they did 8. They haven't even hit anything close to 6 or 7. That 8 was their highest ever.
In one day.
In one day. And now they have this whole week, they've done 4.
But again, there's a combination of factors. Number one, 8 was a lucky day. Number two, they probably had all their machines up and running like clockwork that day.
5. They got 5 the other day. It just when you actually look at it, this is what scares me about mining. You know what I mean?
But remember, it's because their pool is small versus the other pools. So they calculate the luck factor. And, if you're like anything else, if you're not to proper
Tom,
scale.
this is incredible. Hang on, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
They're not even going to do what they did last month. Last month they did, it says 66 coins. Is that correct?
Well, they take their they solved 66 blocks. They had I think they mined 436 Bitcoin.
Okay, so that's how it works. So they're at 24 for the month. So if you were to double it, that would be 48.
If they're at 24 month to date, that is not good.
Right,
And
so
they're taking their hardened facility offline. So
oh my
there
goodness,
you go. They're turning because it's coal, so they're transferring those. I don't know if that's begun, if that's what this is about, or
it must be, dude. When we saw that guy, he looked disheveled. He just looked like he was lost.
He's not a happy man.
I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but he was not in it, and now I know why, because he's getting his ass kicked.
We're talking about I think it's Fred Thiel, the CEO of Marathon, just looked exhausted and beaten down. He was on several of the panels, and he just looked like somebody who has had it.
Oh yeah, he was ready to be out. Somebody buy him, please.
And that's one of the reasons I put some credence into. I did a video on is Marathon going to get bought out, because he specifically talked about that.
Why wouldn't Elon buy him? What happens if Elon buys Marathon? Do you think that would help crypto? Do you think that help Bitcoin?
I think that before he buys Marathon, he hasn't even really. He's backed off of his stance, and Marathon is one of the least green companies out of all of them. So if he wanted to buy it and rearrange things, now having said that, I will tell you, Marathon states in their 10Q, which is their quarterly report they file with the SEC, that they intend to be 100% carbon neutral by December 31st, 2022. That's this year. So I don't know how they plan on that. I don't know. Maybe they're going to spend $100 million on carbon credits to get themselves there, because I can't fathom how they get to 100% carbon neutral by December 31st of this year. So if Elon were to buy anybody, I don't believe it would be Marathon. Plus which, it's funny. I was going to do a video. All these companies put together, the market caps of every single one of these put together is tiny.
Yeah.
There's the companies, the singular companies that are bigger than every single Bitcoin miner, all added up, put together, would surprise, I think, most people. It's under $20 billion for all of them. Well under $20 billion.
Somebody asked about the 10K challenge. I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. And can you explain options, what you mean in your 10K in the video, please?
What I mean regarding, so I use in the 10K challenge, I have mostly stocks, but I do also buy, I don't sell options. So that's another thing that can be profitable. And again, please only use options if you know what you're doing, because whether you're buying them or selling them, if you're not familiar, then, take the time to learn it, because options go to zero. So if they don't get into the money, so you can lose all your money on options. So I've tried to keep somewhere between 10 to 15% of the portfolio. Those are call options, and I show them in the videos as what they are. So they're call options, and they're mostly call options. Sometimes, rather than average in, when something is so oversold, I will start to buy options at a strike point that is at or near the money, because it's just more cost effective. And I have a high level of conviction that sometime over the next 4 months, these Bitcoin miners are going to make forget their all-time highs. They're going to make some amount of progress and bounce off of their 52-week lows. That's all I'm really counting on. So through the use of options, I can leverage in a way that I can't do by buying stock. And because the 10K challenge, remember, we're never adding money to that. So it started out with 10K. We're never putting another dime in.
Whoa. We're not adding additional money.
Yes,
we're
not.
hoping we add money.
Well, that will increase the value of the portfolio, but we're not, like your own investment portfolio, maybe you're taking $300 out of your paycheck every week, or whatever the case may be. We're not doing any of that. It's just the original 10,000. So, I try to use, but I try to contain that because, options are already by nature a leverage. So I try to contain that to 10 or 15% of the portfolio. Otherwise, I'm starting to have a risky portfolio. So again, this is a long-term deal.
Right. You're doing very, I'm going to say low risk in quotations, low risk. We're down 30%, Tom. You know what's funny? Tom and I were talking about this earlier. He's still 100% convicted. Not even because, hey, this is how it is in investing.
This is exactly how it is, and you guys know that because you've all lived it. If you don't, this is what the market wants you to do. So we're 3 months in, we're down. They want me to sell all my stock because I'm losing money on all of it. So what's that called? That'd be buying high, selling low. So you got to grin and bear it, however long it takes, as long as you understand what your investment is and you still believe in and have conviction in the company. Now, if something changes with the company, if something changes with one of my companies and I have reason to believe that it's just going to continue to go down and it's no longer a good company, then I would sell my stock at a loss. So it's not like you never sell a stock at a loss for your whole life. But if you do so, it should not be because the company's doing well, but the stock is doing poorly. And that is what's happening with the stocks in the 10K portfolio. Particularly, I will tell you, Bitfarm, CleanSpark, Hut 8, those are in the 10K portfolio. Those companies are not doing poorly. They're executing very well. Their stock is doing poorly. So that's an opportunity. If you don't look at that as an opportunity, then you really can't be an investor. Because that's when it hurts, but that's when you got to buy in, when your company's doing a great job and the stock isn't reflecting it.
Question. Can you figure out which of these companies are going to need money and when?
They're all going to need money. So,
brother.
Yes, they're all going to need money, and they're all going to have to change their ways because hodling 100% of their Bitcoin, while I understand that philosophically, Bitcoin is their revenue. That's their only source of revenue. So if they never spend 1 penny of any of their source of revenue, then that means ultimately, even if it's in an intermediate way through debt, ultimately the only way to raise money is equity. Because your debt comes due. And if you're not willing to use the revenue that you have to pay your debt off, then you have to issue more equity. So that is a cycle of dilution that at some point, already there's a lot of complaints about the dilution in these Bitcoin mining companies. I'm okay pretty much with the ones I talked about where they're at from a dilution standpoint. But I will tell you, Riot this month, and CleanSpark led the way with this. They have boldly been spending their Bitcoin to increase their infrastructure because they're under the philosophy that we got to get to, point X before the halving. And if we have to use our Bitcoin to get there, then we'll do it. They would like to hodl some of their Bitcoin, and they're moving towards that. And they said that's their long-term strategy. But they were the first ones to start using Bitcoin. Now there's several. And now Riot, for the first time, last month, they mined 511 Bitcoin in the month of March, and they spent 200. So that was a first. They've been hodling all their Bitcoin for the last year plus.
I have a great idea, but I'm not going to tell you guys right now. I mean, it's a good idea. It's a great idea, and I bet you they'll be totally down with it too. Another way to get money. Out of another way to get money.
Another way other than the 3 ways that then you just You just
Yep.
revolutionized.
Oh,
investing.
absolutely.
That's so.
Remember,
Stay tuned next Friday.
I don't know if I'm ever until I like get somebody to jump on board with it. Do you really believe that Bitcoin will bring peace to the world? Did you read that book? What was the name of that book? 12
20
Divide
everything
Any?
divisible by 21 million.
Did you read that guy's book?
You know I didn't read that book. I talked to the
I'm
guy.
asking Mike. Mike, I might have to send you a book. I read some of it. You might like it. It was a gentleman. The forward, whoever wrote the forward, was spot on. And then he started talking when you get into the book and was totally different than the forward. So Tom goes like this to me. Can you imagine if somebody else wrote the forward? Sorry, I know I've said this before, but he is like fascinated with Bitcoin. But I want to know why you think Bitcoin will bring peace to the world, because I would imagine that it doesn't help the poor countries at all because they can't afford it.
Let me let me let me give you my 2 cents on that. El Salvador is leading the way. It is my opinion that every single underdeveloped country should convert to Bitcoin, because their own currencies are not going to hold up against the currencies in the rest of the world. So basically, they continue to suffer loss, erosion of their currency as time goes by because they're too small. If they switch to Bitcoin, then instead of their currency eroding, if they have a store of, it's like being on the gold standard. If they have a store of Bitcoin, and El Salvador has been doing that, they're backing up their currency by buying Bitcoin. So now all of a sudden you have an appreciating asset. So I do think a lot of these underdeveloped countries could take some major steps forward by adopting Bitcoin. Now that's not what the powers that be want to hear. But
So do you think it would be smart to like open a Bitcoin mining company in, let's say, Honduras, if you could make a deal with the government and have them switch? Because Honduras is probably a great example of what you're talking about.
for me, I'm talking about the government itself switching its
Yeah.
currency to Bitcoin. From a mining standpoint, I think you got to go wherever you can get the proper cost of energy. That
Well,
is
if you're
the
going to
cost
be
of sales.
a black miner, you don't really care about, you know, because you don't have to
You
worry
don't
about ESG.
you don't care about the source of the energy, but you still
Right.
care about the cost. You've got to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
that cost down because the worldwide hash rate is growing rapidly. The difficulty level continues to increase, and then we will have a halving. So between all those things, it will get more expensive. Right now, the gross profit margin on these Bitcoin miners that are at scale is awesome. Not including depreciation, these guys are all between 75, some of them are over 90% gross profit. So, there's a long way to go, but, divide that in half and then divide it in half again, and all of a sudden, things start to get competitive, which is one of the reasons that the price of Bitcoin will go up, in my
Mr.
opinion.
Mr. Curry says, would CleanSpark consider buying back shares at this level? In their last report, they said they would be open to share buyback if the stock was undervalued.
I think that it's a gigantic mistake for any Bitcoin miner to buy even one share of stock back, because that is not in the best interest of the shareholders. This is a massively capital intensive industry. These companies need to buy machines, so every dollar they can find should go towards infrastructure and new Bitcoin mining machines. So if they're buying their stock back, that's actually in my opinion, in direct conflict with the mission of their company. It's not like there are other industries where that's not true, and there's many companies that are cash flow positive, but this is such a capital intense industry that if you're not keeping up with the Joneses on your hash rate, then you're gonna lose. And if all you did was buy your stock back, then that didn't help your shareholders in the long term, in my opinion. So I know several of these companies have talked about stock buybacks, they've talked about dividends, and I'm against all those things. I want a company that is just going to buy Bitcoin mining machines increase their hash rate and get more Bitcoin, because that's how they're going to become. Then someday, when this is a developed, mature industry, then you can start giving dividends or buybacks. But to me, we're years from that. This is a brand new. Most of the companies on this list are anywhere from 0 to 2 years old. I think there's 1 or 2 companies that are older than that. Everybody else is like Core Scientific. Last January, they were mining 0. Right now they mine 1,000 a month. But Marathon, same thing. They were mining, 50 or 80 Bitcoin a month. So this is a very new industry. I think it's I would recommend that no industry in their first 1 or 2 years starts buying back stock. I don't know if I
You don't know what?
I don't know if I went off on that particular topic, but I feel strongly about it. Because what are you going to do? How can you be buying back stock and then what are you going to issue stock? Do a stock dilution to buy the next round of machines?
Is it Madrid? I had a friend from Madrid. They just switched to Bitcoin. That's interesting.
I'd rather buy Hive at $1.50. I'd rather buy it at $1.50 also, and it has been there. So I don't know. If Bitcoin goes and bounces off of 37 or 33,000 again, then we're going to get a shot at all these at a back near or at their lows. Because although they're all near their low, most of these still have anywhere from 10 to 25% downside left to get to their lows.
So you don't think this is going to be fixed in a week or two? You think we got to tighten the belt a little bit and get ready for some uncomfortable?
I think definitely 2021 was the year of day-to-day anticipation of when things are going to explode. I think 2022 we got to put ourselves in a mode where we know where this is going to end up. We don't know how long it's going to take to get there. I have the exact same price targets in my head for Bitcoin over the course of a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year period. But I think if we've learned anything in the last 1 year, it's that there are forces that want to keep the price of this down for the time being. And, that is a battle that will be, ultimately they will lose that battle. But for as long as they want to keep fighting it, we keep going sideways. And the more people that they can convince to bail, like right now, the more months you go by and you're sideways or down on your stock, the more likely you are to go, all right, I give up. And that's what they want.
That's what they want. Who's this company, Tom? APLD?
APLD?
Sorry. COVID cost. Off the coast, yeah. Oh, by the way, as Tom's looking that up, if anybody wants the information for some Antminers S19104s, 96s, I got somebody who was selling them for 7,400, which was actually a pretty good price. So I believe they're new. Just if you haven't, go to Discord and please follow us on Discord. It's Talking Investing on Discord. I think it could be right here. Yep, it's right here in the comments. But if anybody wants those, somebody has them that I didn't buy from. Who was it that bought from them? It was somebody we met at the conference. They were sitting there and said, "Oh, I bought." Oh, it was from Seth. It was from Seth. Thanks, Seth.
Oh, you're not talking about the ETH machines we got from.
No, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same company. Was that from Bill?
No, that was your buddy when we were watching the ESG segment. We were sitting next to an ETH miner.
Oh, okay, yeah. I forgot his name. Good guy.
George makes a lot of friends. I don't know why I don't know this company. They're a $261 million market cap company. I got to look into them. Are they a Bitcoin miner? I don't.
Well, Tom
Didn't think I
Tom
missed
is,
any of those.
Tom is stumped again. We call it COVID brain.
Applied blockchain. Is this an ETF? What's happening here?
Is it?
More about the company. Well, they're talking about their IPO one day ago.
I can't believe somebody. They're talking about BlackRock's boast. Banks paid 21% to 36 million last year. I don't even think he cares. That little bit of money, whatever. You know what I mean?
I got to look into this company, so I'm going to look into this because I don't know who they are and I don't want to waste your guys' time while I sit here and look at it. So I will do that later. Logan saying some people will talk about 20K for Bitcoin. I think 32 to 34 will be the lowest. I think George is in that camp of at least retesting 29, if not lower. It seems like we hit we hit 33 in January. We hit 34 in February. I would hope that those hold up, but you can't take anything off the table. It's hard to say.
Cardano price target. I'm not a big one. I know that it is a ISO 222. Long term, I mean, that's at least a 10. I mean, it's going to be more than 10x. I get nervous. I mean, here's my problem with every other. There's only two coins that I really love, and I can tell you why, and it's Bitcoin and XRP. And here's the reason why. Every other one's been hacked. Every other one's been hacked. Cardano just had a humongous hack about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And so that is my problem with these. You can't expect a financial institution to use a currency that was hacked. And that's the whole reason I stay with XRP. And you know what? I could be the stupidest person on the planet, but I think it eventually will pump. Yeah, but I mean, 50 by 2030, absolutely. I think they want it to be in right around that range. I think we're going to be in shock what cryptocurrency does. But I think it's going to be a rocky road. I don't think it's going to go straight up like everybody thinks.
I think it's going to be a rocky road until it goes straight up. And then
yes,
then the FOMO is going to set in. And I don't think that's around the corner. I don't think that's next week or next month. I think at some point when we least expect it, we've already reached critical mass in almost every way. When 1 or 2 or 3 of these catalysts hit, there's going to be a huge jump, and then everyone's going to be chasing. And, you know, the sky's the limit from there, but I don't know when that is. So, you know, nobody does. So that's what that's my theory anyway.
Somebody said something, and sorry we're missing all these things. There's some good conversation going on here. Somebody's talking about, oh, here it is, saying that buyers from the ages of 18 to 35 only, and CNBC, I think, is trying to push Bitcoin down each day. I think everybody's I think it's a narrative to push Bitcoin down right now.
There's massive incentive to push Bitcoin down, and the incentive is there's a lot of people that haven't filled out their position in Bitcoin yet, and they would much rather fill that out at 29,000 than 100,000. So
I don't think they can release what they really want to do with cryptocurrency until next year. That's my gut feeling. Does that make sense?
I'll tell you this. Walking through the Bitcoin conference, one of the big takeaways that I had, you know, when we're talking about ADA and some of the other cryptocurrencies, and there are a lot more Bitcoin purists than I realized. There were a lot of people, and some important people at that conference, that think that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency. And that even including Ethereum, all the other cryptocurrencies are not going to survive. I'm not one of those people, but I do think it will get pared down. There are a lot of junk coins out there, but there was a surprising number of absolute Bitcoin purists walking around that place.
Well, that makes sense. It's the stored value.
Well, and it was
And
a
no,
Bitcoin conference,
yeah,
so.
yeah, that's true. Wonder if
But
you could do an XRP conference that big.
you could do an XRP conference. It wouldn't be that big.
I don't know. Maybe it could be. There's only 25,000 people there. It's really not that big if you think about it.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there that I don't think it makes sense that Elon Musk would buy CleanSpark, but I don't think he would, just for the simple reason is they're already green and there's nothing he could bring to it. I think he looks at things as an opportunity to come in and fix it. By the way,
That's true.
fix it.
That would be right. They don't necessarily need fixing. And I really don't think he's going to get into Bitcoin mining, just out of the simple fact that, like I said, every single one of these companies he was willing to drop double the amount of the market cap of every single Bitcoin miner put together on buying Twitter. So these are maybe too small for his investment portfolio.
I don't know. I disagree, Tom.
Hey, I'd love him to get. Listen, if Elon
I think he's
Musk
an opportunist.
if he bought a Bitcoin miner, then forget all those other catalysts I just talked about.
I'm telling you right now.
Bitcoin 100,000.
I feel a movement in the force. I'm feeling something. He's thinking about it. I mean, someone has to be. I mean, long term, I think it would be one of the smartest things he's ever done.
There's no bigger signal that he could give, and unfortunately, there's 2 or 3 people that when they talk, the financial world listens. So if he were to buy a Bitcoin mining company, I think you can rest assured that Bitcoin would skyrocket.
Yep. Now I'm going with that. I see Marathon being. Wait, guys, I'm predicting right now. So when it happens in a month or two, it could be why they're getting beat down too. Never thought about it that way, did you?
Logan's saying he should buy every miner. It'd be half the investment that buying Twitter would be. So
and
I
wouldn't
agree.
Wouldn't it be a bigger return?
By far.
Yeah. That's a good video, Tom.
We'll put that one out. We'll recommend that to Elon Musk. Here's what you do. Forget about Twitter.
Yeah. He would be the king of the world, dude. That would be stud. And then he wouldn't have to screw around with his Dogecoin.
He could buy them all, take them private, take ESG out of the conversation.
Yeah. If he wants to, right?
Yep.
Wow, that could be really cool. All right, it's good talking to everybody. Hope you guys had fun. I had fun. Tom, do you have fun?
Good. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and for watching the videos and dropping comments. Always appreciated. Everybody have a great weekend. In the U.S., it's a long weekend, so if you're in the
Easter.
U.S., have a happy long weekend and happy Easter.
And have a great evening.
Thanks for tuning in.
We need to get 1% from Elon for the deal, though. We're set it all up for him too.
This is not financial advice, so.
Yeah, he could take the profit and he could fix world. You see, Mike, I'm with you now. He could fix the world just with the profit of Bitcoin. Just the interest.
I'll make the video. Should I make the video?
I'm telling you right now, that is really, when you think about it, that is a smart idea.
Let's
see if it happens.
Let's
see you guys.
We'll put it out in the world. Have a great weekend,